The plains stretched out like a scabbed wound beneath the sun, wide, unforgiving and silent except for the wind dragging dust across the hardpan. It was the kind of land that stripped a man down to what he really was. No trees to hide behind, no shade to soften the truth. Just sky, earth, and whatever choices a man carried in his chest. Caleb Rourke rode alone. His horse, a rangy bay, with scarred knees and a white blaze like a lightning cut, moved steady through the heat. Leather creaked. Spurs chimed faintly. Caleb's shadow stretched long and thin, stitched to the ground by the late afternoon sun. He hadn't shaved in days. His coat was sun-bleached, his hat brim cracked. A man who'd seen too many miles and not enough mercy. Ahead, the Hollister Ranch rose from the dust like a fortress. Low buildings, broad corrals, and fences that ran straight as gun barrels toward the horizon. It was one of the biggest spreads in 3 counties, built on cattle, fear, and the iron will of its owner. Boss Hollister. Everyone knew the name, and everyone knew the cost of crossing him. Caleb slowed his horse at the ranch gate. He could feel it then, that tightening in the gut that came before trouble. He'd come for work, honest work. That was all. But the West didn't care much for what a man came for. It only cared what it took from him. 2 riders watched him approach. Ranch hands, hard-eyed and quiet, rifles resting across their saddles. They didn't greet him. They studied him like a steer at auction. "Looking for Hollister," Caleb said. One of them spit into the dust. "You found his land. Whether you find him's another matter." They escorted Caleb across the yard. Dust swirled around the hooves, clinging to sweat and leather. Somewhere a hammer rang against iron, somewhere else. Cattle lowed restless in the heat. Boss Hollister stood on the porch of the main house. He was a big man, wide shoulders, thick chest, beard gone iron gray. His eyes were pale and sharp, like winter water. He wore black from hat to boots, as if mourning something the world had long forgotten. When he looked at you, it felt like standing in front of a judge who'd already decided the sentence. Caleb dismounted and removed his hat. "Name's Rourke," he said. "Caleb Rourke. I hear you're hiring." Hollister didn't answer right away. He stepped closer, boots thudding on the boards, and looked Caleb up and down. The scars, the worn gear, the quiet steadiness in his stance. "You ride well?" Hollister said finally. "You fight?" "If I have to." Hollister nodded once. "I need men who don't ask questions." "I don't ask," Caleb said. "I work." A faint smile tugged at the corner of Hollister's mouth. "Not kindness, calculation." "Good," he said. "Because I've got a proposition for you." Caleb was given a bunk, a plate of beans, and a job breaking a string of half-wild horses before the sun went down. He worked until his hands bled, until his legs shook with exhaustion. He didn't complain. The other ranch hands noticed that. They noticed the way he stayed in the saddle when a roan tried to kill him, the way he spoke little but listened much. By nightfall the wind picked up. The sky burned red, then purple, then black. Lanterns flickered on the porch. Coyotes cried in the distance. Caleb was washing dust from his face at the trough when a voice came from behind him. "Boss wants to see you." Hollister's study smelled of tobacco and old wood. A single lamp cast long shadows across the walls, where rifles and maps hung side by side. Hollister sat behind a heavy desk, fingers steepled, eyes unreadable. "You're good with horses," Hollister said. "Better than most." Caleb nodded. "You're also alone," Hollister continued. "No family, no ties. Men like you are useful." Caleb felt the room close in slightly. "What's this about?" Hollister leaned back. The chair creaked. "I've got enemies," he said calmly. "Men who'd like nothing better than to see my ranch burn and my blood soak into this dirt. I need loyalty. Not rented loyalty, blood-bound loyalty." Caleb's jaw tightened. "I'm not interested in trouble." Hollister's eyes hardened. "Trouble doesn't care what you're interested in." There was a pause. The lamp hissed softly. Then Hollister said the words that would split Caleb's life clean in two. "You're going to marry my daughter." The silence that followed was heavy enough to choke on. Caleb stared at him. "I'm sorry." "My daughter," Hollister repeated. "You marry her, you stay here. You get land, protection, a future." "And if I don't?" Caleb asked. Hollister's voice dropped. Then you leave tonight, and I don't guarantee you'll make it 10 miles before someone decides you know too much. Caleb stood there, heart pounding. He'd heard rumors. Everyone had. Boss Hollister's daughter, kept hidden, never seen. Whispers followed her like a shadow. Ugly, they said, deformed, cursed. You don't even know me, Caleb said. I know enough, Hollister replied. You've got a spine, and you don't scare easy. Caleb laughed bitterly. You're asking me to sell my life. I'm offering you one, Hollister said coldly. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Caleb thought of the open plains, of riding on alone, of dying alone. He thought of the years already burned behind him, and the emptiness stretching ahead. What about her? Caleb asked quietly. What does your daughter want? Hollister's jaw tightened. That's not your concern. Something about that answer didn't sit right. But the West had never been fair. It only offered choices, bad ones and worse. Caleb swallowed. All right, he said. I'll do it. For the first time, Hollister smiled fully. Good, he said. The wedding's tomorrow. The ceremony was small, too small for a ranch this big. Just a preacher, a handful of witnesses, and the wind cutting across the yard like a blade. The bride stood veiled in white, her face hidden beneath heavy lace. She was still. Too still. Caleb stood beside her, heart hammering. He could feel her presence, quiet, fragile, and strange. When he glanced toward Hollister, the old man's eyes burned with satisfaction. The preacher spoke. Vows were said, words that felt heavier than iron. Lift the veil, the preacher said. Caleb hesitated. This was the moment everyone whispered about. The truth beneath the cloth. His fingers trembled as he reached out. He lifted the veil, and the world shifted. The woman beneath it was not ugly. She was breathtaking. Dark eyes, wide and intelligent. Skin warm as sunlit clay. Fear there, yes, but also strength. And something else, resolve, humanity, a quiet fire. Caleb's breath caught. Behind him, he felt it, the sudden tension in the air, murmurs, shock. The bride met his gaze, and for a split second, her lips curved into the faintest smile. Not triumph, relief, Caleb understood then. The lie wasn't about her. It was about why she'd been hidden. And whatever secret Boss Hollister was guarding, it was worth killing for.